Hey guys, in this video I'm going to be teaching you guys how to solve trigonometric equations. So you can title your notes 5-3 day 1. Before we start, a couple things you need to remember. You need to remember the periods of sine, cosine, and tangent. So remember, sine has a period of 2 pi. The cosine has a period of 2 pi as well, which means cosecant and secant also have periods of 2 pi. So remember, we're just reminiscing about their graphs. And then tangent of theta has a period of just pi. So cotangent does as well. So when we're solving, the process is going to be first, isolate the trigonometric function. So once you've isolated it, so you're going to move everything around. So then you've just got the trig function by itself. You want to rewrite it in terms of one trig function. Then you want to solve for the trig function on the unit circle, which is why you need to remember your unit circle values without using your calculator. Then finally, for all values, so you're going to have to write an equation. And the trick is to know what the answer is on the unit circle, and then you're just going to add the period times n, which will make more sense once we start. So here's the process, and we'll do an example showing that. So example 1, we're going to solve for all values of x. So 3 tangent squared of x minus 4 equals -3. Alright, so for this problem, first we want to isolate the trig function. So we're going to add 4 to both sides. -3 plus 4 is 1. And then we need to divide by 3 on both sides. So tangent squared of x equals 1/3, just like you're solving for x. And now we want to take the square root of both sides. So we're left with tangent of x equals plus or minus the square root 1/3. And then we need to rationalize the denominator. So tangent of x equals plus or minus root 3 over 3. So now what you're going to do is think about, okay, when we have x. When is x positive or negative root 3 over 3? And there can be multiple answers. So think of your unit circle. Tangent is root 3 over 3 at pi over 6. And then when else is it root 3 over 3? If we go all the way around at 5 pi over 6. Now remember, when we're doing this in our head, right, we got pi over 6 is when it's root 3 over 3, and then 5 pi over 6. But remember, you have to keep in mind, where is it? Here we go. The period of tangent is pi, so we're only going from 0 to pi, so we only have 2 answers. Now, the problem is asking us all values of x, so this is just between 0 and pi. So for all values, it's just going to be plus the period times n. And that's it. So my final answer is going to be pi over 6 plus pi times n, and 5 pi over 6 plus pi times n. So let's do one more example, and then a u try. So this do solving for 4 cosecant squared of x plus 2 equals 18, and we're going to again solve for all values of x. So we need to rearrange. So 4 cosecant squared of x, I'm going to subtract 2. And I want to see all this algebra. Cosecant squared of x, divide everything by 4. I need to take the square root. And we get cosecant of x is equal to plus or minus 2. So remember, you should be thinking, okay, so cosecant of x is equal to 1 over sine of x. So we can substitute in even, and we could say, okay, let's just say plus or minus 2. Actually, we can even just say 2 for now. Is equal to 1 over sine of x. Multiply both sides by sine. So sine, I'll just add in my plus or minus, is 1/2. So here, and now this is the thought process when you're saying, okay, when is cosecant positive or minus 2? That's the same as sine being plus or minus 1/2. So think of your unit circle, and what are all of those values? So because it's cosecant, period's 2 pi, so sine is 1/2 at pi over 6. Sine is 1/2 at 5 pi over 6. Right, so in my head I'm just going, okay, here is when y is 1/2. And so then 1, 6, 2, 3, 4, 5 is also 6, 7, it'll be negative. And then, 8, 9, 11 pi over 6. So these are all of the x values when cosecant is positive or negative 2, or sine is equal to 1/2. So then we need it to work for all values, so that's when we do plus the period 2 pi times n. So we have 4 answers for this problem. And that's it. Alright, so what I'd like you to do now is 2 U tries. So here's the first one, and with the U try, I want you to do this with your group mates, work together, show your work, and pause the video. Okay, so hopefully you just finished with your groups, and you got the two answers, pi over 6 plus pi times n, and 2 pi over 3 plus pi times n. So our reasoning, we rearrange, get tangent of x equals, and then we need to think, okay, when on the unit circle is tangent equal to either positive root 3 or negative root 3? So hopefully you're thinking of pi over 6 and then 2 pi over 3. And because it's tangent, it's only got a period of pi, so we don't need to mention any of these ones. Alright, here's a second you try. And again, once you have it written down, please pause the video and do this with your groups. So 4 sine of x equals 2 sine x plus the square root of 2. Alright, so this one's a little bit different because you have 4 sine and 2 sine, so hopefully you did the correct first step of subtracting 2 sine. And if you have 4 sines and you subtract 2, you're left with 2. And then you divide by 2, and notice your answer is just positive. There is no negative, so you only have 2 answers. Okay, because there's only 2 spots on the unit circle when sine is equal to root 2 over 2, and that's at pi over 4 and 3 pi over 4. And then because this is supposed to represent all possible values of x, we add 2 pi n. And that's it.